Hey everybody, a little bit of technical problems, so sorry for being a bit late. Coming in from my phone because the internet here in this wonderful hotel in London is terrible. So I'm hoping this is going to work out. Hopefully, it don't drop off. At least the camera's better, I think. So we're going to start here in a second. Just give me a little bit of logistics. We got to get taken care of here. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. This is Business AMA. It's Kevin Murcko. I'm still CEO of Coinmetro, as far as I know. No one's told me any differently up to this point, so here I am. Yeah, today's Thursday. I don't even remember what day it is. It's Thursday, I know that. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to start answering some questions. If you have a question, pop it into whatever social network you might be on right now and watching this, and hopefully I get to it. I think I'll. We'll see what happens. All right, so first question on the block, the guy who wins a gold medal this week. I don't know how you pronounce this, rupee, or rope, or roop. Anyway, good job. Hey, Kevin, apparently MiCA has passed today in the EU. What does the regulation consist of, and will it affect Coinmetro's operations in one way or another? Well, so yes, finally we had a vote on MiCA. There's been several drafts submitted over the past years when it comes to MiCA. The fact that it's now been approved is generally a good thing. It's going to provide a bit of homogenization of regulation across the EU. That's not a bad thing. That means all these local licenses and registrations that previously were either required and or potentially required to access different markets in Europe no longer will be required once it goes into force. I believe we're probably looking at there's some amount of time where this MiCA legislation is going to be in some form of, let's say, a test phase where there's going to be a certain amount of time where each market participant is going to have in order to acquire that licensing. What it will do is provide a bit more oversight, but it will also, again, make our lives a bit easier when it comes to servicing businesses, clients around Europe. What it will also do, hopefully, is make the banking front a bit easier for businesses like Coinmetro, because we will have now a EU-wide regulation rather than having those local licenses and registrations, which, to be very fair, don't carry a lot of weight in front of most banks. And obviously, one license in one country or one registration in one country, most other countries don't care about that license or registration because they have their own. Now, when you have a license in any one of the 27 member states in the EU, it's going to be essentially accepted and looked at the same from any one member state. So that's definitely a good thing. What it consists of mainly is providing, again, more oversight onto how businesses are run, especially exchanges, in terms of minimum capital requirements, in terms of the technology that they're using, how they secure that technology, that they interact with their client base, putting rules into place that are generally similar to what you see in MiFID licenses, so EMIs, electronic money institutions, and other similar businesses. So it's a step in the right direction, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Going on to the next one, I should be putting these on screen about that. How's the funding round? Good, bad, ugly? Well, we have roughly, let's say, double-digit millions worth of soft commitments. Only 2 large soft commitments. One is coming out of the UAE. Ramadan is ending tomorrow. I expect to hear some news from that probably next week. We will see what happens. And another one from another part of the world, which we are waiting to get some additional numbers back. We're in kind of negotiation phase to essentially assess the valuation. And that is not necessarily the first step, but it's, not necessarily the last step either. So once we assess valuation and we agree on a valuation, then it's about agreeing on specific terms for that term sheet. But I do think that within the end of April, by mid-May, we are going to solidify at least one of those commitments and be pushing to solidify some more. Plus, also putting together some additional speaking engagements, as well as some other investor-related meetups within the month of May, within the month of June, and then all the way out as well into the fall. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this round will be open in fall. I don't expect it to be. But as a fintech, whether we raise 20, 18, 25, 19, 17, whatever amount of million raised in this round, we will absolutely have another round. And that's inevitable. Profitability or not, fintech businesses need to remain competitive. And the bigger you grow, the more expensive it becomes to remain competitive. So you're going to raise more money, that's for sure. Can you bring 2 or 3 traders and kickstart the TraM? I'm willing to add $1,000 a month if I can copy trade a group of good traders. Hey, wannabe. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to have to bring traders when we open the TraM. I think we have a great marketing team now, something that historically we've never really had. And with the launch of TraM 2.0 and matching the current amazing set of products that we already have within our ecosystem, I don't think we're going to have a problem attracting traders. It's just a matter of doing targeted advertising to traders, to people who are all trading on other platforms, getting them to come to us, throw their trades onto our platform, and be able to make passive income. And I don't see that as being difficult. And weird, then why haven't we done it yet? Well, there's been a million of reasons why we haven't done it yet. But with the right team and the right product, I don't see it necessarily as a big issue, especially with funding to back that up. I mean, back up those campaigns and being able to incentivize those guys to come on and trade. But I potentially bring on trade. Sure. I know a few guys used to trade for us at FXPig that had amazing systems that would absolutely be able to apply those systems to the crypto markets. We just need a system that's robust enough so that we can actually bring them on. And that's TraM 2.0. So, hey, Kevin. What do you think about Kadena adoption? As it starts happening, or it's going to take time? You know, I look at Ethereum right now, and even after years and years and years and all the updates and blah, 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 we're still talking 10 to 15 US dollars for an average transaction. When, you know, you can do it for pennies on Kadena. And there are layer ones that you can also do it for next to nothing. I think, you know, Kadena as a protocol, I'm very bullish on. Kadena as a business, I'm bullish, but less bullish on. And I don't mean that I don't support them. I mean that I think where they really need to put some effort is not necessarily in the tech, not that the tech is perfect and not that, you know, they shouldn't work on it anymore. They should, but where they really need to apply some elbow grease is on the business side. And I expect them to do that. Yes, I've seen some more adoption. There's definitely some more influencers now talking about Kadena. You know, we're still within a relatively difficult market. Yes, Bitcoin has recaptured 30K once or twice or whatever. And yes, Ethereum's back up to around 2,000 US. Yeah, great. But at the end of the day, the market is still what the market is. And so probably when we see the next cycle where more and more new money is coming in, Kadena is doing quite well. But they have time now. How much time? Well, they might have a quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters, you know, but they have a bit of time to be able to solidify their business, you know, the business side of Kadena, not the tech side. And they do need to focus a bit of attention on that. Gary Gensler was in a rough situation when asked whether it's a security or a commodity. Are his days numbered in the SEC, or was that hearing worth nothing? Well, Gary Gensler, I'll just throw it out there, and maybe Gary's going to look at this one day after he's fired, but he's a clown. He's an absolute clown. He has no business being in that position. And whether or not he has business being in that position, he has zero business talking about things that he knows nothing about. And I would say the entire crypto industry is probably one of those things. The man was shilling Algorand just months ago, and now it's a security. He made a video. I don't know if you guys saw that cringe video on staking, but my God, it was terrible. It wasn't. It would be funny if I wasn't in the industry. If I wasn't in this industry and I just saw that video, it would make me laugh. I'd show it to my friends. I'd be, look at this. But it doesn't make me laugh because it's terrible. It shows how little Gary Gensler understands about our industry. You have people within the same SEC that actively tweet against almost everything he does. I think his days are numbered. And whether or not he's there another, you know, months, or he finishes, or what, you know, his term or whatever, he is kind of already surpassed the point of no return, and he's on his way out. That's for sure. Whether that because of public sentiment, which is terrible, especially in the crypto industry, it's terrible. Now, people that don't understand what he's saying, I guess, don't know whether or not he's right or wrong. Anybody who understands what he's talking about knows he's wrong on almost every point he brings up. He's contradicted himself a million times. I would say his days are numbered. That hearing was definitely worth something. It was public. Lots of people saw it. And that wasn't the only time that he faltered. He faltered many times. And he continues to make a fool of himself. So no fault of his own. How strong is the relationship with ThoughtAI? Any risk will be delisted? You know, we definitely have ongoing conversations with Thought, probably not as much as maybe we would like to from a biz dev angle, and that's not necessarily their fault. mainly because BizDev right now is focused mostly on fundraising. That's the main focus right now with BizDev, and it should be. I don't, we, unlike other platforms, aren't going to delist an asset simply because it has low volume. We will delist an asset if there's a reason to delist it, i.e. that we feel that they've either gone off of what their mission was, they're doing something that we believe is unethical, and there's evidence to show, and it's irrefutable evidence, fraud, things like this. When it comes to volumes, unless it's an asset that outside of just volumes, nobody really owns it in Metro. Now, ThoughtAI may have low volume, but people own it, and it's staked, and there's people that own it in wallets. So, we're not going to look to delist. Think of something like Luna, and we're talking about fraud, and lots of other things, potentialities. And even though people owned it on Coinmetro, we delisted it. That would be, I guess, a good example of the difference. I guess there's lots like myself that have no idea how to trade and need a copy trading solution, plus a subscription to a Bloomberg chart runs into 25-30K USD, if my understanding is correct. I think it's a continuation of your last question, Wannabe, but most people know how to trade. Most people that think they know how to trade don't know how to trade. Most people that consider themselves to be traders aren't traders. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's why things like TraM, and eventually, let's call it rebalancing of spot portfolios and also being able to copy those, I think is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, when it comes to offerings that we make to the public. And so absolutely having a copy trading solution is an important thing. It's an important thing because, one, from a business standpoint, it allows us to estimate our revenues much better on a per client basis than we can on someone that we don't know what they're doing when they come into the platform. We can have somebody deposit €1 million and have it sit there for 6 months and do nothing. So we make nothing. We can have someone deposit €100, but trade that €100 50 times a day, and we actually make money. Now, when someone connects themselves to a system where we understand the daily volume of that system, we're able to calculate very well how much we're going to make as a company off of that client. And that's very important, not only business, but also now fundraising and things like this, and being able to go out and expand the business and debt financing and all these things that will become more and more important as the company grows. So it's important to us. TRAM 2.0 has been a long time coming, but it is coming. I guess that's the important point. Any news that you can tell about the fund? I just did, but you can always ask again if you want some clarification. Hola, Kevin. Hola, Charlie. Any update on the earlier mentioned compensation for people who lost their money in the CV Reflect TraM? If I recall, it was paid out in the XCM. No, the update I have is that the TraM manager also has a debt for a negative balance back to us. Like everybody else right now, their businesses have been affected by, everything that's affected everybody else's business. The economy, COVID, blah, 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 blah. Inflation, whatever. There's a long list. And so we agreed for that repayment to be done within a year. That year is just about ended. But right now we're kind of in renegotiation to see when that can happen. And yes, we have the XCM basically almost like on escrow because we took it at that moment to make sure that we would have it to be able to repay. What I want to do is give people XCM right now and say, oh, you're repaid, when they're not able to go and sell it. I want to restart the XCM book before I do that. I want to be able that those people that have been waiting are able to actually giving it to them right now, and it doesn't change anything. I mean, it might make their paper portfolio look a bit more complete. It doesn't change anything. So with that, and I know it may not seem this way, but it is a priority. It's just it's something that we need capital in order to fix, and that's been focused on for the past few months, getting that capital in the door. As a Flux holder, I appreciate the staking improvement. As an XCM holder, it's a bit idiotic that you can now get max 4% on a totally illiquid coin when you get 4% on Flux ETH without limitations. Well, I wouldn't say it's idiotic. It's not that, first of all, on every asset, we want to provide the best return we can, or the best bonus, or the best staking rewards that we can. And on Flux, we're able to offer a bit better return after reading a few things in the back end, etc. So we're going to do that. We're not going to not do that just to make our own asset look better. And when it comes to XCM, reinvigorating the order book will allow us to potentially offer something better. But we can't do that now because we're just shooting ourselves in the foot. So I don't think it's idiotic. I think it's just part and parcel to what's happened and what the market looks like, the order book looks like. Simple as that. So, that's it. I mean, at some point we will make that offer better. We just don't have the ability to do that right now. And if we did it right now, it would be, artificial. I guess what I want to ask is are there any XCM news or updates we look forward to? The short term is, as soon as funding comes in, that's a priority. That's the news I can give you. We'll make sure to leave a link on the stream. Make sure, yeah, please. If you can like the stream, that's great. All those little hearts and emojis and confettis and thumbs up, or I don't know what you gotta click. But all those things that you guys click help us. More exposure. More exposure is great, and it could solve a lot of the issues that we've been talking about, including the XCM one. So exposure is a good thing. Is CM still looking to expand the workforce at these turbulent times, or actually downsize in the dev department? We are actively expanding the dev department. We didn't really downsize. We did performance reviews, recently, and that caused us to shave some people off of the workforce. And we've paused some hiring in some departments where we simply don't need the support currently. But in other departments like dev, we're still actively hiring. So it really depends, right? We've had to get a bit more poignant on where we want to bring that workforce, but we haven't paused completely. When XCM staking increase, yeah, when it's viable to do it, and that's going to come after funding and after getting that book started for sure. Any worries or concerns U.S. clients may have regarding our future with Coinmetro amidst all the regulatory uncertainty and everything that's been happening with exchanges pulling out of the U.S.? I guess the answer to this is yes and no. You should be cautious, and we should be cautious as a business. On the other side, we've done what we can do at this point to make sure that we're compliant. Now, while we may have all those state licenses, et cetera, what we do is we file what we need to file. We do suspicious activity reports. We remain compliant as if we win those licenses. We are looking to acquire those licenses. We just don't have the resources currently to do so. We're also not obviously the biggest game in town. We don't really have a spotlight on us. One, because unlike other businesses, we've always done the right thing. So there isn't some major cloud hanging over us on the fact that we've been doing everything the wrong way and have a lot of complaints, or we've, not responded to inquiries, let's say when we've had them, law enforcement, et cetera. So in that sense, there's a lot less risk on us as a business than there are on other participants in the market. But you never know. I do honestly believe that there will be a turning point to where the U.S. does actually start to push out some more poignant and concentrated legislation, regulation around our industry. It's probably not going to happen under current. I mean, at the SEC, forget it right now with Gary Gensler at the helm. But the SEC is not really the entity that's going to regulate most of crypto. In fact, it probably shouldn't regulate any of crypto. It should regulate securities. And if they're tokenized securities, well, then they should regulate those as well. But when they're not securities, they should also not be necessarily the entity within the government that's determining whether or not an asset, or the only entity, I should say, determining whether or not that asset is security. So they should make a definition, and a clear one. And this way, we wouldn't need them to make the determination. We'd all know what's a security and what isn't. As we all know, they haven't done that. In fact, Gary Gensler himself doesn't know if something's a security or not, because he himself has no idea how to classify based on the nonsense the SEC gives as far as guidance. So I would be cautious, but at the same time, I think while we might not be in the perfect situation, we are not in the same situation as other businesses operating within the U.S. Can Coinmetro encourage the formation of a client pool with the sole purpose of acting as an XCM market maker with the profits retained and shared at fixed term by the pool participants? We've been talking about this, and liquidity pools are something we want to work on. It's not necessarily in the current roadmap, only because resources. But we've discussed this at length, and I do believe it's going to be part of the puzzle. It's not going to be the first part of the puzzle, but it is something that what we want to do, and we definitely be willing to discuss people like yourself, and figure out the best way to make that work. One, so that as a passive income opportunity, it's an amazing opportunity for our clients. And on the other side, that it actually provides value service back to XCM holders. Yeah, hopium is, look, as hopium, it's Relium. I don't know. what that word would be. The reality is that getting those books reinvigorated is a priority. Whether or not it seems that way, because, well, I guess a lot of people think we can just click a button and somehow make this work. That's not how it works. We're at the point where we've done everything we can up to injecting capital, but in order to inject capital, we need to get that capital. So part of this fundraise is definitely going to be injected into making sure that a book is made and continually made in XCM. And so the quote unquote hopium is that we haven't thought about XCM. It is still very important to us. It's still one of our most important products, and we will support it as best we can. And with the resources that come in through the fundraise, we will be supporting it more and more. And it will go back. It will be better than it's ever been. But, we need that capital. That's as simple as that. It's very short. Is that an indication of $1? Well, I guess if you're judging based on beard length, we are definitely closer to €1 now than we were, say, when Fu Manchu beard was in place. That's for sure. Hey, Kev, what's your thoughts on Parsiq? Still bullish on Parsiq? Absolutely. Great team. Was actually talking to the guys. They got a lot of stuff in the works, a lot of stuff on the business side. We talked about before that they had this period where they were focusing a lot on the token, and the token did it amazingly well. Then the market adjusted. They started focusing on the business. Now they've hired a lot of really smart people. They've been focusing a lot on the business. They got partnerships galore coming out. They're doing a lot of really cool shit. And you're going to hear more and more about Parsiq, I think, over the coming months. And that, I believe, as they kind of really cement the business case, that's going to help them immensely in the next, quote unquote, bull run. I expect Parsiq to do well. Absolutely. You could never shave me off the books, Kev. I market for free. I'm not sure what that means, man, but I'm glad you're happy about it. I guess the smiley face is nice. When hybrid exchange and DEX implementation on Coinmetro? Hybrid exchange, hybrid exchanging non-custodial deposits is definitely something that's currently sitting within our to-do list. DEX implementation, i.e. like being able to, trade on a DEX with assets on Coinmetro. I'm not really sure what that's not necessarily on the roadmap right now. However, it definitely could be. It really depends on what people want to see. And it really depends on the mix of clientele that we get as we grow. Because there's definitely a clientele that will be interested in this. And there's another clientele that would understand this and wouldn't care. Now, if it comes down to, I don't care how it works in the back end, I just want to get filled with less slippage, and bringing in DEX implementation can help us do that, then that's probably the thing we will do in terms of aggregating liquidity. I think at the end, most people don't care what happens behind the scenes as long as things work. My short positions better not get closed to drop out of the U.S. Well, I don't see that as a plausible scenario in the short to medium term, and of course, we would never want to do anything that puts our clients' positions at risk unless we're forced to. Hey, Moni, thanks for telling everybody to thumbs up. I appreciate that. Do you think injecting capital buying XCM is worth it considering the Uniswap pool that can mess it up? It's not about injecting capital just to buy the wall. That's not a long-term strategy. It's about creating a situation where there's always a buyer and seller, a certain amount of liquidity at a certain price. This may mean an adjustment, a little bit of an adjustment to what the book looks like now, but it does not mean us just buying out the wall. Because if we do that, what happens? People see the wall gets bought out. They go, oh my God, there's liquidity coming in, and then more sell orders come in, and we end up with the same wall. So it's not about that, but kind of a joint effort between automated market making, manual market making, and a slight adjustment to the book so that we can constantly have an open market. That may include some type of additional rules initially about the amount of you can go in with marketers, the amount of limit orders that can be in the book, things like that. Great volume lately, 10 to 15 million daily. Any insights on this that you can share as a new user? Well, I not necessarily, and we've seen the volume as well. I think you can tell by looking at it that it generally is something that's probably looking to take advantage of slight price differentials when it comes to FX between crosses on majors. So I can give you that much information. If Coinbase leaves the US over no clear guidance on regulations, will Coinmetro follow? Well, Coinbase is in a different situation, and they are the leader in the US. They are massive. They have massive exposure to US regulation. And they have the ability to potentially strong arm a bit the US regulators into listening. I don't see them leaving the US. What I do see, and I've said this in the past, I do believe they're going to leave the retail market. And this may be the first little kindling to get them there. I think, in my opinion, what happens with Coinbase is they become kind of the Qualcomm. You know, Qualcomm is like in every cell phone. They have chips, but nobody really knows what Qualcomm does. But they're in, the devices you use every day. You think of that like 3M, who makes all the glass, and Corning, which makes all glass for cell phones. Nobody really cares about that stuff. It's an Apple phone or it's a Samsung phone, and that's it. But companies that are just behind the scenes in all those devices. And I think Coinbase becomes that type of company and provides essentially liquidity and technology to banks, hedge funds, that all want to get involved in the crypto. And where I see US regulation heading is not that they're trying to kick crypto out. What they want to do is take the power of the market back into the traditional financial institutions. And so they're going to try and push out everybody they can, because they know that smaller entities, they know that medium-sized entities are not going to be able to deal with what's happening. They're going to try and make enough noise where they scare new participants to come into the market. And then the traditional market is simply going to acquire what they want and move on. And I think Coinbase is going to be suited, and I think they're probably gearing up to become essentially the kind of behind the curtain supplier for all of that. And so we're going to leave the US probably really means we're going to stop servicing retail in the US. Plus, that also means they don't have the amount of regulation that they have to adhere to is much smaller, because there's always more rules and regulations around dealing with retail than there are with institutions, especially if you're only providing liquidity and software. Kevin, I met you could never fire or let me go. I'm on a permanent part of the marketing department. My cost on payrolls. Thanks, Jeff. I absolutely appreciate that. Tag me. If you're tweeting or you're doing whatever, man, tag me in those things. I'll definitely reshare. Appreciate the efforts, really do. Some rumors going on that Coinbase is really interested in entering the UK. What's Coinmetro's vision? Well, we're in the process of applying for UK registration as well. Been in that process for a while, going through documentation, etc. So it's a big market. This is our second biggest market, I think, or third biggest market. So absolutely on the radar. And Coinbase is already there. They just haven't made a large footprint there. But it's London. It is the biggest financial market in the world by a massive stretch. So yeah, perfect sense. Man, if Coinbase leaves the retail market, that truly opens the door for CM to have a massive gain in market share. One man's loss on the man's market capitalization. Exactly. It's going to open for a lot of smaller players to be able to show why smaller, nuanced, focused market participants can do very well. Coinbase was one of those at the beginning. They were a scrappy, little, focused niche company, and they did amazingly well. Now they're a corporate, massive juggernaut. And usually when that happens, especially in retail trading, it's inevitable that they leave the retail market because it becomes too expensive. It becomes too hard the oversight becomes too stringent, and they're actually making less than they could in the institutional market, managing way too many clients. So I think it's inevitable. Is CM going to stay focused purely on retail, or else going to focus on businesses? Well, I think a very large base for us is always going to be retail. Why? I feel strongly that retail traders and just retail participants in finance in general get fucked way too often. Simple as that. And I want to be one of those market participants that helps those people not get fucked. I mean, that's the simplest way I can put it, where anybody listening to this will understand what I'm saying, right? Without necessarily having to understand all the bits and pieces, you get it. Normal people in financial markets always get the short end of the stick, always. And so I don't want to leave that behind. I think that's got to be a mainstay for now. Once you have a solid base of retail clients and retail flow, you become very attractive to the institutional market. One, because retail flow is much easier to trade on or off of. Well, one, because most retail people lose money, unfortunately. And so institutional flow wants to be able to make into or take from that flow. And having said that, you also become more attractive because you get more volume. That volume and that volatility, which retail money creates, is very, very attractive to institutional traders. There's a reason why institutional traders are on Binance. If you all the retail money, they wouldn't be there. As simple as that, because the volatility would lessen. If you remove the retail money from crypto, nobody would trade it because there'd be no volatility. The volatility comes from retail money. So it's kind of a chicken egg scenario. I always want to be focused on retail. That doesn't mean we don't focus on other primary aspects of the market. It just means that we will always be there to help out the little guy. And I think that's important. Any updates on UAE? Are you opening an office there? Well, we got preliminary approval for the VARA license, and now, well, the VARA MVP license. Now we have to go through the process of acquiring the VARA complete license, and we're waiting actually information to be able to do that. Also, waiting on feedback after Ramadan from our potential investors out of UAE. And so, yeah, things are moving along, and we absolutely will be putting an office in Dubai. It probably won't be or UAE. Probably won't be a big office at first, but we will have an office, and eventually we may see, that office become, I would say, a bigger piece of the infrastructure, for sure, for many reasons. Updates on Mexico office. Well, Mexico office is there. It's functioning. There's people working in there. I mean, I don't know what type of update you're looking for. As far as like hiring and expanding, that's all going to come with more resources. Apparently, I have a child I didn't know about. Nice to meet you. How are you making sure while CM grows that it stays agile, unlike Coinbase seems to be? Well, Coinbase, I have to tell you, is probably extremely agile. But they also have the luxury of not being agile, because they control a large market share and they can be stubborn. But I would say they are quite agile. Whatever their narrative is outwardly, like, oh, we can't adapt to this, it's simply because they have the leverage to be able to try and slow down, change, or refocus regulators' attention. But how do you stay agile? Well, I think one is mindset. Two is never changing your goal simply because the going gets tough. The going has been tough 7 days a week at Coinmetro 5 years. There's never been an easy day in Coinmetro. And I'd probably say that in the crypto markets in general. This is an interesting business. It's a complex business. It's never an easy business. And so as long as that's something that excites you and your team and gets people out of bed, and those challenges make people, focus and work harder, I don't think you need to do much more than that. It's about keeping people excited and keeping people wanting to continue to solve those challenges. Hi, what a coin is to be delisted next? I don't know if we've ever delisted a coin. Well, Luna, I guess. We don't have a delisting list, so can't really give you an answer on that one. Kev, one last question. Are there any promising projects that you think are really developing? Do you know of Quai? Very interesting. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Proof of work, EVM compatible with a multi-chain architecture like KDA. Haven't heard why. I'll take a look at it. To be honest, I haven't really had my ear to the ground, so to speak, listening for new opportunities, because I've been ultra focused on funding. So you might have to ask me this maybe towards the end of May, once I hopefully complete this round and we get to move on, because I really don't know, man. I have not paid attention. Hey, Kev, what are your thoughts on current market aids? Not sure what a market aid is, so you're going to have to enlighten me on that one, and then maybe I can answer that question. The amount of new signups stayed on a nice increasing level. I remember you saying at the beginning of the year that the new signups had exceeded your estimate. We are on par with our estimates, though this last month has tapered off. We've spent less money on marketing because we've been reducing our cost base during this fundraise. So we're still on tap, though, because we did amazing in January, February. March tapered off a bit. April tapered off a bit, again, because we've lowered spending. But we're still on target for our year-long targets. No, GG. What happens if niet? I guess that's no. I mean, my Russian's not that great, but I can pick that one up. Fund Safu. Yeah, look, if funding doesn't come in, we have to reduce cost. We have to lengthen our burn, and we have to refocus on kind of elongating the amount of time we have to achieve. At the end of the day, whether we have to go down to, a two-man shop with me up, 20 hours a day, like I did in the FX days, then that's what we're going to do. Simple. So I don't really envision a, off switch. Just market sentiment. My bad. I guess you're asking me. Oh, let me go back to your question here. Hold on. Current market sentiment. Well, within the crypto industry, the market sentiment definitely is a bit better, simply because Bitcoin and Ethereum went up. So that's kind of relieved a bit of stress. I would say, though, that the market really has changed at all, and so market sentiment to me is still an issue, and I think it will remain an issue until at least Q3. I talked about this since Q4 last year. There will be money. The money printing machines will be turned on again because there's not much of a choice. When that happens, we will see an artificial bounce again in lots of markets, and that probably will include crypto. That's not necessarily great long term, but short to term, it may get us to the point where we start to get back into a bit of a bull cycle, especially if it aligns with Bitcoin halving, etc. Especially if it starts to align just a better sentiment overall in the market. So right now, I don't see a reason for the market to be all that happy. And I think right now, I wouldn't call it a dead cat bounce, but I think the market is a bit irrational, and the market is usually irrational, so nothing really new about that. Just seen some of the new website teasers. Looks great. Appreciate. Yeah, I just saw them as well. By the way, guys, those are hidden from me as well. When you see them, I see them. I think it looks amazing, and I got a hats off to our marketing team, our design team. Done a fantastic job. I think absolutely fantastic job. When EWT, the world needs decentralized energy. Bullish on EWT. That's been on a list for a long time now. I think it probably hasn't listed just because of mainnet, and we just haven't. And maybe because I don't know if it's available in any of our custody providers. That might also be a reason why we haven't seen it listed yet. But we probably will at some point. CM is getting signups, but is it higher than the outflow of active users? We don't lose many active users. Our retention rate is one of the better or best in the industry. So without looking at numbers, I would say that it, yes, is higher than outflow. Now, let's say static accounts that aren't necessarily active but haven't left, meaning they might have a bit of money on staking or have a bit of a balance but not anything. That's another question that I'd actually have to look into the numbers. But in terms of people actually leaving, withdrawing all their money, and for 30, 60, 90 days not doing anything, which we would assume then that's a dead account, inflows larger than outflow. Fair enough. Funding round is way more important than looking up random coins. I'll ask again in May. This is a very promising project. All right, thanks, man. DCF, I appreciate it. Definitely ask me. I'm always interested to hear what the community has to say about different assets. I love looking at those type of things. Just right now, got a eye on the prize. I made some crepe. Would you like one? Sure, man. I'll take a crepe. What are you throwing in your crepes? You got chocolate, you got Nutella. What are you doing? Actually, I don't think Nutella is vegan or good for you in any way, shape, or form. So, what's the time from on the XCM token not being able to trade or swap? What's the time from on? I guess you're asking how long has it been since it's been a liquid? Because you can still trade it, it just takes a long time. Or sell. Sorry, I think we're probably somewhere around 8 months. 9. I think that might be. Am I accurate on that, guys? I know the community probably knows better than I do. Yeah, but new funding round will change that. Put that back into order. Questions on Coinmetro Ignium. I changed Coinmetro bonds into shares that show a value of $1. One with a real value be shown on the dashboard. You definitely have to get in the support with that one. Get our ties back to you. I know that they're working on it. The problem is there's one dev that has the knowledge of Ignium and how it was built, and he's kind of on part. And there's a lot of other things. There's a lot of small things that are being worked on, etc. He's also on vacation for a little bit, so things are taking a bit more time than we would like. But it will be fixed. I guess I can tell you that. But definitely contact support and just keep poking and prodding, man. That's the best way to make sure that things get over the line. I saw new teasers too. Absolutely fantastic. Tell my coworkers at the marketing and design department we did great. I will do that, man. I appreciate that. Time before we can trade. This fundraising round, once completed, I would say we're talking 60 to 90 days for us to be able to put in place. And that it might even be less than that. To be honest, it could be much less than that. But 60 to 90 days would give us the time to put in place those market makers, put in place strategy, get the book moving, and also apply enough new marketing with new funds to be able to bring in that sustainable, thousands of new clients a day, which will also help support that effort. Hi, Kevin. Caught you late night. Any comments on Radix? Shareholders are wise guys based in Estonia and UK. Have no idea, Jack. Long time no chat, man. I know I got some message from you. I need to respond. I haven't been in Estonia. I was in Estonia literally for 48 hours for some workshops. Before that, it was like maybe 3 days. I'm traveling almost nonstop since January. Can't wait to meet up again for a drink once I'm in Estonia or some dinner. I'll let you know. And I haven't looked at Radix, to be honest. But send me a link, man. I'll take a look. Yeah, Prime Trust. Well, Prime Trust, the situation is that there's 2 states right now they can't service, and so we are on the lookout for new solutions. We will have new solutions. How long it takes, I can't really give you an estimate right now because we're still in talks. Some of the solutions that previously would have been available to us are also having issues of U.S. banking. So right now, it's become a bit more difficult in the short term than it was before. But we will find a solution. So if you're in one of those states, you still have the ability to move crypto in and out. You're going to have the ability to Swift, like Euro, etc., which makes it, which is not maybe optimal for you guys, but there is something you can do. You can also have USDT. You can potentially move it to another provider if you had to. But we're working on it. But it is only 2 states currently. Can you go over calculations on how many Coinmetro B shares one would receive for each Ignium share if they choose the option to convert said shares? Put me on the spot here, Brad. I go back and look at the numbers because I don't remember off the top of my head. It's not something that's like in the immediate forefront of my brain. If I remember correctly, we pegged the valuation of Ignium at 4 million, offered 100 million valuation, so 25 to 1. I think is what it is. Every 25 shares of Ignium would have been 1 share of coin, equivalent to 1 share, quote unquote, of Coinmetro. That's a very rough calculation. Please send me a Telegram message, and I'll get you, a more accurate breakdown of that. Is the Ignium payout for cash still on track? That is also tied to fundraising. So our initial track was to finish this round by the end of April. Ramadan is ending tomorrow. I'm hoping that we do get an official now hard commitment, and that, it still may take a little bit longer than end of April. So it depends on fundraising, guys. As soon as funds win, that's one of the first expenses that's going out the door. Have you heard of QRL? They might have the next quantum resistance ciphers. Haven't. Again, please Telegram me, send me some links. I love to look at this stuff in my free time. I just really haven't had, the time to focus on anything outside of fundraising. Hey, Kev, feel like you're going off soon, so have a nice evening. Yep, MBB, getting close. Questions still coming in, so I'm trying to get all the questions. I was going to try to cap this at 30 minutes, but I like talking to you guys. So any update on virtual IBANs that would be on the roadmap in regards to regulations, and what would regulations be for that? So current provider we have is having issues with their own regulator. We are actively looking for a new provider. Depending on who that provider is, we may be able to launch virtual IBANs as soon as we bring them on. We may have to wait a little bit. So right now, that one's a bit up in the air. Regulations would just be EMI registration, which we had as a, let's say, sister license to our current provider. We will have to do the same thing with the new provider. So it may take maybe 30 to 60 days to get that worked out once we have the new provider in place. Thanks for all the answers, Kevin. Really excited about the funding round. Coinmetro has matured a lot in the last year, getting that new cash with funders. I agree with you, man. We night and day between even just the beginning of this year and now, never mind the last 12 months. What was the reason for buying Ignium outright, and what is the future for the purpose? There's a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is that I do believe that having a venue, even if it's just where we can trade Coinmetro shares, I think that's highly valuable to Coinmetro as a business. Being able to have a platform where we can raise funds through our own community for future fundraisers, and also maybe gamify that into the platform, also super important. An initial step into NFTs for us, also important. I also didn't want to see Ignium go bankrupt. And simple that we have a raising round for Coinmetro. I'm also co-founder of Ignium. I don't think that would have looked so great. And I didn't want to see that idea, which I think is still amazing, die. With little to with not that final push of effort. 4 mil is a lot. Well, the people that got in the last funding round bought in at 20, so it's a significant discount. Pretty good questions. Great community with smart lads. I echo those comments. Want to be on that. Update on DNA bonds. I have no update on DNA bonds. I know that the new owners were trying to make sure they could get KYC'd so we could transfer the account over. That's the last thing I know. Unfortunately, I literally have zero information. We definitely have had some communication with them, but I don't know how much. It's not something that I'm dealing with myself. But I will try to get an update for the next time you guys see me here. You can also ping me on Telegram, and I'll try to get you an update there. Look, it's almost 45 minutes in. I'm going to cut it off here, guys. I appreciate all the amazing questions. Great questions. Really enjoyed this little AMA. I kind of miss these things doing them weekly. Doing it bi-weekly gives me a bit of withdrawals, to be honest. I get a little shaky. But I'm glad you guys came. I'm glad you guys asked those great questions. I hope the answers sufficed. Have a great Friday tomorrow. Have a rest of your Thursday. Have a great weekend. Spend time with friends and family. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. And make sure you tell everybody to buy XCM, because, you know, it just will make everybody happy. If there's one way you can ensure that someone will smile, is by buying a bit of XCM. I think that's I think that's like clinically proven. There's like a medical journal. I don't know. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks to everybody again. I love being here. Love talking to you guys. Have a great, I already said this, I'm gonna say it again. Have a great Thursday, Friday, and weekends. And maybe I'm just getting old myself. Thanks again, guys. I'm signing off. Cheers.